Many Canadian employers have questions regarding the new mandatory 3-day hotel quarantine rules for air travelers landing in Canada. In this video, we will answer the most important questions such as, does this apply to my employees? How much will this actually cost? Which hotels are approved? How do we book hotel rooms for our employees? What will my employees need to do before, during, and after their flight to Canada? And should my employees just drive across the border? Let's start by quickly summarizing what was introduced on February 22, 2021. Almost all international air travelers arriving in Canada are now required to land in either Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, or Calgary. Upon arriving, almost all travelers will be required to take a post-arrival COVID-19 test. They must then quarantine in a government-approved hotel for up to 3 days or until they receive a negative test result. Anyone whose post-arrival test is positive must remain in their hotel quarantine until they receive a negative test result. Travelers connecting to another destination will be able to do so after their hotel quarantine period. And to be clear, this new rule does include new employees coming to Canada. It seems the biggest question on many employers' minds is what will it cost for my employee to stay at a quarantine hotel for 3 days? What was initially stated by Prime Minister Trudeau was $2,000 per person. What we're seeing in reality is that the cost for 3 nights is in the ballpark of about $1,200 per person plus tax. This is welcome news by many individuals and employers. What this charge covers is the hotel room, any food, security, and transportation required, as well as the infection prevention and control measures required. Who is exempt from staying at the quarantine hotels? At this time, those who have already received the vaccine are not exempt from the post-arrival test and mandatory hotel stay requirement. There are only a few instances where your employee might be exempt from the mandatory post-flight COVID-19 test and subsequent 3-day hotel stay. These are if your employee has proof of a positive COVID-19 test between 14 and 90 days prior to their flight, if your employee provides an essential service, or they regularly cross the border to work, or they live in an integrated transborder community. For employees arriving via a land border crossing, they won't be required to stay at a quarantine hotel. However, they will still be required to take the pre- and post-arrival COVID-19 test, and it is an expectation that they go directly to their place of quarantine and maintain their quarantine plan. So in short, it is highly likely that your employees arriving by air will be required to stay at one of the hotels. So how do you book the stay, and at which hotels? All bookings must be made directly through American Express Global Business Travel. We've included the number for those inside and outside North America. It is important to note that bookings should not be made directly with hotels. Here is a list of the government-approved hotels. Another question employers are struggling with is what their employees must do prior to and during their flight, as well as after they have arrived. In terms of what your employees should do to prepare for their travel to Canada, they should reserve their mandatory hotel stay, review provincial and territorial restrictions, review their quarantine plan, and get their COVID-19 test results that must be done within 72 hours of their flight. They need to submit their travel and quarantine plan, including proof of the quarantine hotel reservation, on the ArriveCan app. And they should check the requirements for boarding a flight to Canada on the government website. As your employee boards their flight, they should review once again the requirements for boarding and be prepared to provide the airline with their pre-entry COVID-19 test results and their ArriveCan receipt. At the time they enter Canada, your employees will be required to provide the Border Services Officer with their ArriveCan receipt, their test results, and their quarantine plan. They will be required to take a COVID-19 test upon arrival. After they have landed, your employee will need to check in at their quarantine hotel, provide daily reports using the ArriveCan app, and once they're cleared to leave the hotel quarantine, they must go directly to their designated quarantine location for the remainder of their quarantine period. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching.